I'm waiting for you. I'm going to say,
Okay. Shalom, shalom, everybody. Welcome to the Dialogue with Pastor T. We are excited. Echoing. We are excited about this session today. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can. I can.
Oh, praise God, praise God. Wonderful. I'm going to ask Nkoma VK if you can please pray us in.
Shall we pray? Our Heavenly Father, we come to you this hour just to say thank you. Thank you for your good God. Father, we thank you for all the mercies that you new every morning, Father. As we realize that you have a portion of our mercies for today, Father. We pray that even as we interact at this time, Father, that you may guide us, Father, as we talk about this subject of dementia, Father, that you may open our minds and our hearts, Father, just to receive, learn, Father, and be compassionate, and guide and live our lives in a compassionate manner, Father, so that with knowledge, instead of ridiculing, Father, instead of judging, Father, instead we come across compassionately, Father. We pray always and even into the presenter, Father, that you may also speak through her to reach all, Father, that you will have to be reached today. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Glory to God. Glory to God. So you live, Mr. Pastor Mo Joy. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the Dialogue with Pastor T, and today we are talking about understanding dementia. There is a lot of information out there that where people are not well informed regarding this particular subject. There are belief systems that are out there, especially within the African or Black community. We tend to look at dementia as perhaps somebody who is a witch, or somebody who has been bewitched, or somebody who is possessed, when in reality dementia is, among other things, a health condition. So today we are excited to have Pastor Mo Joy all the way from the United Kingdom to talk to us and teach us and inform us and educate us, especially us as pastors, because pastors, we are so quick at wanting to lay hands on someone. You know, we hear someone has depression, we want to lay hands, and we never really consider the health aspect of it, the health condition of someone who is exhibiting certain symptoms. We always think everything will go away with just a laying of hands, but there is an extra layer that we need to do, especially as pastors, to educate ourselves, to be more informed, so that not only do we know how to deal with our own families who are with this condition, but also to empower our congregants. That's why we are here today as pastors, to be informed, to be educated. So over to you, Pastor Saineti. Thank you so much. Please take a minute to introduce yourself and to let us know. We always want to know the backstory of the backstory. How did you get involved in dementia, and what are you doing in the United Kingdom and anywhere else in the world where you are working with individuals concerning this condition? And then you can let us know, introduce us to the subject and of dementia. What is dementia?
Okay, thank you for having me. Obviously, my name is Mo Joy Saineti, and I'm glad to have been a nurse all this time since a young age. I trained in Zimbabwe as a nurse, and both RGN and RIMN. I moved to England in 1998, where I did my master's in health research, and I was working in different settings in the United Kingdom. And I was particularly involved in looking after people with dementia here in the UK, and that is in nursing homes and as well as in hospitals. But particularly in 2008, I was identified by one of our consultants in the NHS I was working with, and he said to me, that was after I did my master's, he said to me, there is an organization in Westminster looking for somebody like you who is duly qualified to go and pioneer a service in Westminster on dementia end of life care. I had no clue what I was going into, and I had to deliberate on that because moving from where I was working, where it's majority are Black people in my area, to go and work in Westminster, where it's affluent English people, I thought, my goodness, how am I going to survive in that environment in central London? But anyway, God was on my side. I went there, I asked God to direct me each step because it meant that I am the guru of that project. I should be the one who is the specialist dementia nurse working outside the NHS, but influencing the policies in development of dementia services in the whole of United Kingdom. And my project was the first one to establish an end of life care in the community. So basically, I had to find my footing, I had to find materials, I had to find training other people to know and understand dementia. That's when I realized that there's a lot of misinformation, and my own Black people are a little bit behind. They will not visit memory clinics, for instance, to be diagnosed on time. Most of the time we struggle to look after our own people at home until it's quite late in the progression of dementia. And meanwhile, my mom was also living with dementia. She came to United Kingdom as a visitor that time, and I couldn't return her back home because she deteriorated. She was diagnosed with a dementia which was affected because of, she was affected by a virus, and her brain was deteriorating very fast because they couldn't treat the virus because of a status that time. So I had to fight for her to become somebody who can be living in the United Kingdom to an extent where she can be treated. And that meant that the dementia was deteriorating very fast. I nearly lost my mom several times. At one stage, she would stop breathing, and I'd call God, and then she revives again. But all that calling God because somebody has stopped breathing meant that there is a chunk of her brain which was being damaged to the extent that she couldn't remember where she was. She lost mobility. She was incontinent. She couldn't mobilize until, because she was a woman of faith, until we managed to start treating the virus. That's when she gained a chunk of a memory. But obviously, because of the brain damage, she had lost a lot of brain content. So, well, during my project, God called me, really. I believe that God called me to pioneer Africa Dementia Service, but also Regeneration Center. Regeneration Center is a Christian charity where we advance faith in different areas in the world. We are at the moment in Zimbabwe, and we have a church in Chinjike as well as in Kambuzuma and in Mufakose. Norton is starting up as well. So we have some groups of people who are meeting right now in Regeneration Center. And we do both looking at the whole person, both in the terms of spirituality as well as the physical health of the person. And so during our conferences, I was talking about dementia as part of Regeneration Center. And so after that, the people I was meeting at the conference, they remained in Africa, in Zimbabwe, thinking about how can we advance this information. So they created a group of, support group, where they would go in the villages and start to talk about it, and then supporting people they thought had memory problem. During that time, these people were rejected. And even members of Regeneration Center had their elderly rejected because they thought that they were witches, they were the ones who killed their husbands or whatever. So there was that confusion. It's either you are demon possessed or you are a witch. And then each time I'm going there yearly, they are getting to understand more and more about dementia. So, well, in UK, I also started Dementia and Christianity, where I would visit different churches and we would discuss about dementia and how we can help people with dementia in our congregations. There is a lot of mental health, there's a lot of physical health among our people we are living with or we are leading as pastors. So yeah, that's basically where all this thing is generated from working with people. It generated from having a family member who has dementia, but also when I go to the villages, I see a lot of people with Parkinson's disease. I see a lot of brain damage there which has not been diagnosed. And I see a lot of people drinking and developing some memory problems. And I know that it could be Korsakoff, which is another area of dementia. So yes, this is where we are coming from, basically, in a nutshell.
Oh, wow, wow, great job. Thank you so much. Wow, you have a lot of experience with this. So talk to us in layman's terms. Try not to use your complicated words that you use in nursing. Try to talk to us in layman's terms, because this information we are also going to translate it to our congregants as much as we can. So try to explain to us what exactly is dementia.
Okay. I'm hoping that I'll be having the controls.
Okay, you want some control. Okay, I'll give you control.
On the PowerPoint.
Sure.
I'm hoping that this PowerPoint is going to bring some awareness. Really, I can't teach you about dementia even in an hour's time. It's not possible. I can give you some understanding through awareness session, which hopefully this is going to bring you an awareness and hopefully to stimulate discussions among us. And I'm hoping that we will be able to start up discussions in the church. Let me see whether I can take up this again as sharing. Can you see my
yes, your mouse? Yes. Yeah. One of the things that we understand, just like any other subject, that it cannot be resolved or spoken about in one session. We are hoping that this is an introductory to understanding dementia, and that you will be coming back for a series. I'm hoping that we can have a series so that we can all be well informed. We don't run around with half a story.
Yes, I would do series, but also for those who need in-depth training, we can do training, awareness training, certificate level, diploma, degree. We are an organization called Africa Caribbean Dementia Services here in the UK, and I have a group of scientists, researchers, lecturers. We can actually, if you, in your churches or in your countries, you would want professional training, obviously that requires funding as well. We can organize training so that people have actually professional understanding of dementia, and also in the churches we can do some awareness and training as well. So it's really up to you to find out how you would want to be developed in all the areas, whether you are in UK, USA, whatever. I'm waiting to go to the Philippines. A pastor, a missionary, has actually been inviting me to go there and do some training. I've been there before. So we can go anywhere you want us to go, as long as we get funded. And mostly the going is the very expensive one, going, the tickets are expensive. But anyway, with funding, it's easy. So let's do it.
I think one of the things that we want to accomplish here is first of all to introduce the subject, because a lot of people may not be, you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
So once people are kind of know, and maybe by you giving us this session, and giving us some examples of some people of symptoms and how some people present, it will make us recognize so and so who is in my church is that's probably the issue. Perhaps they can even help them to get them diagnosed. So it will get us thinking in that way, because right now we are only thinking about wanting to lay hands.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you are able to move my PowerPoint. I can't move it from my end.
You can't. Oh, why can't you move it from? I don't know. It's, it's saying I can view your.
Yeah.
Should I give you?
So is it you who moved it there?
Okay, it's saying I should request remote control. I didn't move it. Let me see.
I can now. Don't worry.
Can you? Okay.
Yes, I can. So, well, from the project I developed in Westminster, I was able to be recognized as the international dementia nurse in 2010, and that also it's a very amazing position for a Zimbabwean nurse to be given such an honor and to become a Queen's nurse here in the UK. Because through that project, you get connected, you get also people looking at the quality of work and the value. So I'm hoping that I would express this eloquently so that people can understand, but also we can work together to develop our Africa Dementia services in Africa, as well as wherever we are. And particularly I'm focusing on Black people because I think we run behind in terms of development and everything else. And now we are talking about we matter, Black people matter, isn't it? So let's look at this information and help our congregants appropriately. You said, what is dementia? And I suppose you can see that there are some, I hope you can see the pictures there. That picture on the brain is showing a health brain one side, and the other side of the brain is showing an affected brain because of a condition called Alzheimer's disease. So when we are talking of dementia, it is an umbrella terminology or an umbrella name of all the conditions which are impact on your brain and affect your memory. So there are so many different types, and they are major ones. And I always say to people, there are as many dementia types as number of people living with dementia. Although we can group people and say, these are living with a condition called Alzheimer's, or these are living with a condition called vascular dementia, or these are living with a condition called Lewy body dementia. We can give them all these names. But even in the Alzheimer's group, you will find that is an individual condition. So they'll never present as the same. You can never group people. You look at a person as a person, and their presentation is very different. But the cause might be the same. Like with the Alzheimer's, there is a cause. You see the pictures below there. One side is a healthy neuron. You find that these are tiny networks which are in our bodies carrying information. When you are hearing what I'm saying right now, that voice which you are hearing goes through your ears, and the information is carried to your brain through what we call nerves or neurons. And these nerves, they should be healthy for them to carry that information to your brain, to be interpreted in your brain and come back to the body for action. So in other words, there is a chemical exchange of information, but with a damaged nerve on the other side, you can see that there is a brown substance there, which is like a chewing gum. And chewing gum, a bubble gum, if it blocks those tiny nerves, it means that you cannot, if it blocks the tiny nerves, it means that the chemical exchange or the chemical transportation of information to your brain is not possible because of that blockage. And by so blocking, a tiny blockage can cause a devastation in the body function. In other words, just that little blockage of a tiny little nerve or neuron, whether it's a sensory neuron or a motor neuron, those who have done biology, if there is a blockage, it means that there is going to be a tremendous misfunction of your body. Because for me to see you, there is a lot of chemical exchange which is happening in my body. So you will find that that's where Okay, I don't know now what's happening. I can't continue with my PowerPoint here. Okay, so progression is not just a memory loss. You will see that initially there's a memory loss, short-term memory, what we call short-term memory with dementia. The person forgets what they've just done, what they've just eaten, what you have just had, you know, you forget it. And then, but it's not just the memory loss, because in the elderly, you will find that their memory goes also just by your deterioration in your body cells, general body cells. Memory goes with elderly. But with dementia, you will find it's a bit different because it's not just the memory loss. There is also reduced attention span and ability to do things and understand or communicate. So bodily function is affected. And this is just the general body function. You know, the brain is our computer for the body function. I don't know whether you can understand that.
Yes.
This is our machine which controls all our function. And I even believe that even our brain is very much attached to our mind. When we are talking of renew the way of your thinking, is something which is done because what you have had with your brain, you have digested it to affect your mindset, to affect how you hear things, how you see things, how you interpret things. So the word of God, when we hear it, it is digested by the brain. It goes through the same way of the chemical exchanges which are happening, the chemical transmissions which are happening through the nerve cells, the motor neurons, the sensory neurons, all that chemical exchange, also the word of God goes through our five senses. So I believe that we need to be clear on that. If we are preaching to people, we have got that transmission disconnected. We might actually be preaching to somebody who is not having a clue of what we are saying. So, because they are not able to understand or communicate. And also, you may get lost or not recognize people. So in the church, can you imagine in the church, the pastor is preaching and then the person might not recognize where they are. They seem like they are wandering, they are lost, and we think, oh, it's a demon possession. But actually, it could be a physiological aspect where when we take them and we take them to the scan, we can take the brain structure and we will see that it has got a structure like that brain which we saw with severe Alzheimer's disease. So it is caused by amyloid or plaques. This is the Alzheimer's is caused by amyloid or plaques, which are like the gums, this gum substance I showed you here on this picture. These ones, they actually block the communication or transmission of communication through the nerve cells. So that blockage is the one which is destroying the brain cells. When your nerve cell is broken down or is damaged, it actually has a devastation on your brain. So you will find that the brain will start to have holes like this big hole in the picture of the Alzheimer's diseased brain. You find that the ventricles there become bigger. You know, the chambers in the brain become bigger. These chambers are opening up because the brain substance is being eaten away by, it's being eaten away. The brain substance is being eaten away by the Alzheimer's. I don't know whether you are understanding what I'm saying.
Yes, yes.
Alzheimer's is a foreign protein which was discovered by Louis Alzheimer's, and he gave his own name to the condition called Alzheimer's disease. So when he analyzes on the microscope, he sees this foreign protein which is damaging the nerve cells. So this is something we can see physically, not just spiritually. I don't know whether, yeah, okay. I'm trying to go to the next slide, but it's stuck. Okay. Okay, some effect from TIA or mini strokes. Okay, now when we are talking of dementia being caused by mini strokes or by strokes, we are basically talking about the vascular type of dementia. So that one also, it is due to poor blood supply, which carries oxygen to your brain. blood supply which carries oxygen or nutrients to your brain cells. You see, our brain cells are living. They are cells which are actually living. And so they thrive on oxygen, they thrive on the food we eat and the nutrients we have. So when there's a poor supply to your brain, it means that your brain...
Free kicks via the left.
Okay, there's a noise somewhere. When there is a poor supply to your brain, it means that brain cells are not going to be developed properly. So that is also because of blockage. Because
Dr. Dube, can you please mute your line?
Can I take the kick?
Thank you.
Okay, so what I'm talking about here is blockage of the blood supply to your brain. And this could be due to clots in your blood, and TIA is a mini stroke. It means the blockage, and the stroke causes poor blood supply to your brain. And obviously that means there's no oxygenation or there's not nutrients where there's a poor blood supply. And that obviously causes poor development of brain cells. So as I said, there are major types of dementia besides the Alzheimer's, which is very common. People talk about Alzheimer's. There's vascular dementia, which I was talking about, mini strokes and major strokes. These are strokes which causes a bleeding in the brain. If there's a bleeding in the brain, it means your brain can have a physical impact. It can actually be damaged by this clot which is impacting on its cells. Or it's because there's lack of oxygen supply to the brain cells or nutrient supply. So oxygen, lack of oxygen and lack of nutrients. There's also dementia with Lewy bodies. The nerve cells also could have what we call a Lewy body cell. A Lewy body cell affects the nucleus of the cell, you know, and it goes in there, impacts itself in there, and then what happens is it kills the nerve cell from inside. So Mr. Lewy also sees this during his time, and he gave his name Lewy body. So it's coming from the name of the founder of the dementia. The frontal lobe dementia is talking about a dementia which happens on this front. Let me tell you, I'm particularly very interested in looking at that type of dementia because it tends to affect your planning more than just the memory and stuff. You could have memory intact, but planning is affected. But not only planning, your personality and behavior. So look at a pastor who used to run a very big church, but now he is swearing. He is removing clothes. He's running after women. He's becoming sexual, things which he used not to do. But then when you look at it, he will be diagnosed with the frontal lobe dementia. Look at the brain here, which the brain picture I put. The dementia is affecting your personality, your motor, your emotion, problem solving, that area which keeps those memories, you know. And so I believe for us to be moral, what we call, oh, this person has got a moral obligation not to do certain things, to say, oh, I can't talk that language because I'm a Christian. It's because there is a guard in your frontal lobe which says, no, this you can't say, this you can say. But that guard is affected when you have a frontal lobe dementia. That guard is disconnected. And so you will say anything which comes your way. And you become to behave like a person who is demon-possessed, the language, the behavior. And when we take you to the scan, to MRI scan, to CT scan, you will see that the dementia which is affected is, the area of the brain which is affected is in the front. So that's the frontal lobe. Parkinson's or Huntington's, you will find that people who live with a Parkinson's disease, those who shake a lot and can't take a cup of tea, it's all shaking. They could have also a dementia associated with that condition. All these other brain conditions can cause dementia. The multiple sclerosis, motor neuron disease, they can end up with a dementia. But also look at Korsakoff condition, drinking alcohol, which is a social thing people do, but you can end up with a Korsakoff condition because when you drink alcohol,
Apostle Cliff, can you please mute your line?
so
Apostle Cliff Chapota, please, thank you.
I'm talking of Korsakoff condition. Korsakoff condition is when you drink a lot. Then once you are drinking, what happens is that there is poor absorption of vitamin Bs. And there's a particular important vitamin B1, B2, B6, all these vitamins, B12. Some of them are very important in cell development, formation of brain cells. So when you are drinking a lot, it means you inhibit absorption of these vitamins and you end up with poor brain cell formation, and that is a memory problem. And the difference with this particular memory problem in Korsakoff is that instead of showing that this person has forgotten, they replace the memory loss with something you would say is a lie. You know, a person will say, I was there, I know I went to United Kingdom and I came back yesterday. And yet definitely the person was in Zimbabwe. But they believe they were in United. You can't shift that lie from them. And that is a Korsakoff caused by drinking a lot. HIV, people do not realize that there is dementia associated with HIV. And so when you get the virus, it can cross the brain barrier within 48 minutes of infection. That's why it is important for us to go for early diagnosis and early retroviral treatments, you know. So the thing is, we need to talk about treatments. We need to talk about the HIV being treated early, diagnosis and also treatment. Take away this stigma attached to this. CJD, okay. CJD is foot and mouth disease, a common condition which is found in the world. You know, people talk about foot and mouth disease. All these conditions can end up with a diagnosis of dementia. Let me see the next one. Okay, that's Alzheimer's in detail. You are looking at the health brain and the Alzheimer's side. As I was talking about the opening in the brain cell. So this is the brain cell as you see it when we cut it laterally. When we cut the brain laterally, you see that a healthy brain will be having the white matter, the gray matter, all that intact. And you'll find that the substance, which is the brain substance, it is tangible. In the side where there is a healthy brain, it is a full like that. But in the side where we have Alzheimer's, let's say this is a person who is living with Alzheimer's. The other side, we are comparing a person with Alzheimer's and a person with a healthy brain. You will see these holes there, the ventricles. They are normal holes in the brain, but these ones are much wider. So it means the brain substance is actually being eaten away. And the more the brain is being eaten away by this condition, it means that it is impacting on the bodily function. Somehow, it depends on where this memory is, which is affected. If it is a memory where it has to do with hearing, if it is somewhere where it is, it stores memories of hearing or the nerve cells of hearing, auditory nerves, it means you will not hear. And if it is about mobility, it controls your walking up and down or 1, 2, 3 or left, right, things like that. You will lose that ability to walk. And that's how a person with dementia will start to lose both functions. So let me go on the Alzheimer's. I think we can talk about it again next time. Vascular dementia, as I said before, this is just the illustration on how the brain is affected by a bleeding in the brain. So blood leaking on the brain cells can cause an impact. It can destroy the brain matter, but also can cause poor blood, poor oxygenation and poor nutrition onto the brain cells. So that causes also brain to die, the brain substance to die. Okay, that's the picture of the Lewy body I was talking about, which goes right inside. That's the Lewy body. It goes right into the nucleus of the nerve cell. So if this is attacked by this Lewy body, it means the whole cell is damaged. And look at this network. This cell is connected to other cells, other nerve cells. Until it reaches your brain, there is a network of nerve cells. So if one of them is damaged, it means it affects the whole process of body function. And Lewy body is marked with hallucination, distressed behavior, and you would think that the person is psychotic, when actually, if you take them to check their brain, you can find that they have dementia, brain damage in the brain. Okay. So as I've said already about some of the types here, this PowerPoint, when I was doing it, when I was formulating it, I was looking at a lady who is living here in the United Kingdom. She used to be a GP and a tongue-speaking Christian, and she is living with dementia. But she says it's a glorious opportunity for me to live with dementia so that I can understand my patients much better, and I can write books and presentations about dementia. So when I was preparing this, I was reading about how she's developing, how she's progressing with the dementia, and how she remained a person of faith despite all this. She's looking at it positively to say, now I can understand my patients, and yet I'm losing my memory. Let me write what I remember today and how I remember people communicating with me today. So she heavily influenced me. And so my question is, yesterday, most people remember how a person used to be in the past. You know, yesterday, most people remember how that person used to be in the past. Yeah. And today, some recognize the worth of the individual as they are today, and they treat them with respect and dignity. Think about my doctor, my GP I'm talking about. Yesterday, she used to run a surgery. And maybe today, we lose that respect of her because she's now taking away her clothes. Maybe she has lost that the guard. I say there's a soldier who guards what is coming out from your frontal lobe. Maybe she's now swearing. Do we still give her dignity and respect? And forever, Christians should see how the person will be welcomed in heaven. And that's what she says. We need to look at the people, not just because of their yesterday or today, but also that they will be welcomed in heaven, and how God is going to treat them in heaven according to their accomplishments here on earth. And that is something we should think about, isn't it?
Yes.
Also, there is always a reason for communication. You know, every communication has a purpose. But why I'm bringing communication in this is because a person with dementia loses memory. And maybe their communication is now in the past. They are talking about things of old. And most of those things, this generation might not know. The generation they are living in might not know about it. Every communication has a purpose, but the challenge is to discover it. No word or action is meaningless. So what sounds like nonsense or repetition is to express a feeling, to show a need, to give information, or to get a response. And what appears to be inappropriate may be a form of communication. And that's what Dr. Beauty says. She says, now I understand all this communication is purposeful. And yet when you look at it, you would say somebody is demon possessed. But if it is dementia, I'm not saying people don't have demons. Please believe me, I cast out demons. But I'm saying sometimes it's good to understand what is going through the person so that we even know how to pray. And even the Bible says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. It's pointless firing ammunition everywhere, all over, because you can't see your target. So the meaning of words may become disconnected from their sound. You know, when a person has got dementia, their sound so may not understand or be able to construct a logical sentence in reply, and may produce a word salad. So sometimes you want to talk to people, but if they have dementia, they seem to be disconnected with, they can't answer you, they can't seem to know what to say, or they're trying to retrieve a thought, but it's stuck there in their brain. They may not understand letters in words, so reading can be difficult. But talking about something familiar might enable them to join in. So what we do is, because with dementia, you are losing memory of the, what we call short-term memory, the now memories. You have lost what is happening to you right now in your environment. But maybe you remember a long-term memory. So if I can come into your world where you are at, or in the age where you are at, in terms of discussions, we can actually talk and laugh. And yet you are calling me your mother when I'm a daughter, you understand? So things like that, knowing the person, knowing why they are communicating as if they are in the 60s, will make sure the person is accepted in the community. Perhaps a need is being expressed through the actions. A person who is acting weirdly, is it because they are trying to express a need? Maybe they are pressed, they want to go to the toilet, and then they are just agitated. They can't tell you, I want to go to the toilet. Maybe they are in pain. So what we may call wandering may be purposeful. Or maybe they are responding to an hallucination. And the sleep patterns also may be muddled. We have different reasons why the person is not sleeping well in dementia. And usually in the evening, that's when they start to be agitated and might not recognize an item, because this item is a modern item. Look at how these days we are not even switching on lights. You know, your presence in a room will ensure that lights can switch on, or, you know. But with a person who is living in the past, do you realize they might not be able to operate our new technologies? And also, depending on their history, I think for a person who used to be a very active nurse in the community, when they are living with dementia, you might find them agitated at a particular time because it's 8 o'clock, I have to go to work. I have to go to work and I want to go out. And you are saying, no, you can't walk. Sit down. But because my memory has gone backwards to a past where I used to be a nurse and I used to walk around in the community, I might give you a hard time. But if you know my history, if you have taken time to check, why am I agitated at a particular time? You can sit down with me and say, oh, is that time again where you need to go to work? Okay, let's talk about work. What did you used to do? If we would remove my edge of going to work and maybe get interested in my past, we start to talk about it. I can actually be calmer, and you spend the day in a quiet environment or in a happy environment. So, but also visual spatial is very common with people with dementia. In other words, looking at things as if they are not the same things. You look at this mountain, when you look at it in the mirror of water, it can be something else, isn't it? So a person with dementia sees things like that in a different way, in a misinterpretation because of visual spatial. And you may misjudge the edge of the table because of that. If that you have your damage on the optic nerve, which supplies eyesight to your physical eye, it means that you may misjudge the table, and then you are breaking place when you are trying to eat. Or you can misjudge the bathroom furniture, or contrasting colors. I gave an example to Pastor T the other day. I was saying maybe someone is walking with a mom, they are in a shopping mall, and they go through a shopping door, but by that door, there is a black mat and the floors are white. If the person with dementia sees this black mat, she may misinterpret it for a hole. It's to think, oh, there's a big hole here. Because that visual spatial will say, there's a hole, I'm not entering, I will be dropping into the hole. So you will struggle with a woman who has dementia just by the entrance of that mall. And people are looking at you as if it's a funny drama. But actually, if you know that actually my mother might be seeing things, misjudging the mat here, you say, okay, mama, oh, you are seeing that hole again. Let me remove this mat. You remove the mat, there's no hole. Mom can enter the door, and then you can return the mat. So it's knowing and understanding some of the floors. Why are people falling and breaking their legs? It's because the tiles we put in their houses, they are in contrast, black and white or red and white, whatever. And then a person with dementia might think that the black color is a hole or something. So they want to avoid it. And by trying to avoid, they fall over and break their bones. So these are some of the things which we need to always remember about dementia. Mm. And the question is, if you ask questions to a person with dementia and asking what time is it, or sorry, if you ask a question or if you are communicating with a person, you need to use, you don't need to give them open-ended questions. You need to give them closed questions. If you want to check whether they like eggs or bacon today, or they like eggs or sausage, you give them an alternative of two things. Do you want eggs or do you want sausage? Don't say, what do you want for breakfast? Because a person with dementia might not be able to extract all that information from a brain which is suffering like that. So communication-wise, use closed questions. And when a person with dementia is asking you, what time is it? They might actually be saying, I don't have an idea what I'm meant to be. In other words, they are not using data as we understand it. Usually their communication is now in emotion. When the emotion is saying, I'm not safe here. Because I always tell people that there are two particular storage of information we are dealing with when we are looking at a person with dementia. What we call hippocampus and what we call amygdala in the brain. The information we take in, like demographic data, what is your name, where do you come from, it goes in the hippocampus. But from that information, each information, there is an emotion attached to it, which goes in the amygdala. So the books of information which are piled in the shelf, which is called a hippocampus, are the ones which goes first when someone has got dementia. So in other words, let's say dementia is set in, the data, which is demographic data, who are you, where are you, where am I, what time is it, that data goes. But there is a corresponding emotion from each data which remains. The person might not remember this place, but she will remember the joy which was brought by that place. The person might not remember your name, but she will remember the horror you caused when you had an interaction with her 10 years ago. So when she sees you, she might not want to associate with you at all, because what remains in her is the emotion rather than the data. So when you see them saying, mama, they are calling you mama, mama, and following you, yet you are young, they might actually not be saying you are my mother, but you provide me with care, love, and shelter, food. All these things we do as caring role might be interpreted as you are my mother. And when she says, can I go home? She's actually saying, I'm not feeling comfortable. So now our interpretation should be, what does home provide? Home provides shelter, comfort, joy, food, warmth. So maybe when she's saying, can I go home? She means, I need to feel warm And that's why it is important for us to provide a solution for however they are feeling. Okay. So let's talk about strange behavior. Strange behavior is what we observers think this is a strange behavior. But through the mind of a person living with dementia, it could be something else. Okay, aggression often is due to frustration and misinterpretation of events such as reflections in the windows or mirrors. Look at that train. When you are looking at it as a reflection, it looks like there are several trains which are coming to be one or something. And for a person with dementia, that can be horror. And also, mind you, when there's a mirror in the house and they are looking at their own reflection, when the mind is saying you are in your 40s, and yet your true age is saying you are in your 90s, they may be feeling that there's an intruder in the house. So mirrors can be actually a hindrance in the house when you're looking after a person with dementia. And incontinence can sometimes just be forgetting to go, or it may be because they can't remember how to unbutton, how to zip, how to remove all the trousers. Or maybe they don't know where the toilet is. They don't remember how to use the modern equipment. And the doors, the color of the door is the same as the color of the walls. So there's a lot we can learn about, which I can't cover in this 1 hour. And also might not be able to distinguish dreams from reality. Don't laugh or call them a liar. Is it a fantasy? Don't ask that, because it could be a sign of dementia, as I said before. Unwillingness to cooperate may be due to fear, e.g. showers may not have been used in their childhood. Okay, situations that can precipitate agitation or confusion. Large gatherings, for those who have big churches, if you have people who are living with dementia, just a large gathering can actually precipitate confusion or agitation. Noise, you know how we use a lot of noise in worship, that can affect a person with dementia. Unfamiliar people can also threaten them, or they might not know how to relate with them. And if you give them a task which is too complicated, or you want to travel with them, you may find that they are not responding as unfavorable. And unfamiliar surroundings can also be daunting for them. If they've got an illness like a UTI, a chest infection, you will find that they will also be agitated. So it's things to look at that. If you now understand that this person has got dementia, look at why are they agitated? Is it because of the noise? Is it because of large gathering? Or maybe they have an infection? And then we need to communicate with them appropriately or remove them from the place where they are feeling agitated. Okay. When agitated, well, in UK, our culture is give a cup of tea. Cup of tea can calm them. I think in America, you give a cup of coffee. I don't know what you give in Zimbabwe.
My ew.
My a bottle of Fanta. I think I would love Fanta.
Yeah.
And give them something which can calm them down. Sit with them in a calm environment. Don't ask questions. Questions might not be a good idea at that time. Don't overwhelm with words as well. And a simple, calm environment can be good. Reassure, show what to do. Reassure, show what to do. Or you can say, come and sit here with me. And if it's a culture where you can hold hands, rub a shoulder or hold a shoulder, because the cultures are different, isn't it? We need to know their culture. We need to know how we can communicate with them culturally as well. As I said, make a cup of tea. Too many people, if the environment is overcrowded, take to a quieter place. Engage in a family activity, a walk or a car ride, what they love to do. So in other words, I'm not dwelling on your behavior, which is agitation, but I can give you an alternative which can be healthier to you, what you like, what you prefer. And playing suitable music can calm and reassure. I think if the music is loud and it's making them agitated, maybe lowering the volume down can be good. That's Dr. Beauty, the one who who shows us about Christianity and dementia in the glorious opportunity. And she says it's a glorious opportunity. She gave us understanding of when visiting a person with dementia, approach from the front, because eyesight is poor. So if you are going there as a pastor visiting them, make sure you approach from the front, you talk to them face to face so that they can see you clearly. Don't tap on the back because that can startle them. Introduce yourself with context. My name is Pastor Mojoy. I've come to read you a verse or whatever. So you need to introduce yourself slowly. If they've got hearing problem, make sure you speak aloud, or you make sure they've got their hearing aid in situ, and wear bright colors. She says, I can see better if someone is approaching me with bright colors. Talk about hobbies or subjects that meant a great deal earlier in their lives, and show videos or pictures of events. So feelings remain when facts are forgotten. We talked about how the Amagadala keeps the emotions, the feelings, what was the meaning in terms of the feelings and emotions. It is there. And I also believe that it has something to do with the soul, because we say the soul is the seat of your emotions and feelings. So if it has been shaken like that, it means that even receiving the word of God might be altered if there's no right information which is interpreted in the brain correctly. So I would say that we need to make sure that even our Bible studies are slowly done, and we do not emphasize of only, do you remember? Do you understand? If you ask me, do I remember? Do I understand when I'm actually living with a memory problem? You are making me to be aware of my disability. But rather, I believe a prayer can be helpful in a way, even if you don't believe that I'm understanding it. So don't emphasize on my weakness. Okay, exit strategy. I put there exit strategy because when a daughter visits a mother in a nursing home, and the mother does not remember what has happened just now, so your visiting might be forgotten, but the emotion you bring remains. So what it is when you come in, she might not remember who you are, your name, or that you are her daughter. But she knows that when you come, there is an emotion attached with you. You bring me joy. Somehow, you are someone who gives me completeness. She may remember that feeling of self-esteem when she sees you. But then when you are leaving the nursing home, she say, Mama, bye, I'm going. What you bring by bye is that now that person who brings me joy and satisfaction is leaving. She might forget your visit. She might forget that you were there and who you are and why you feel you bring a peace. But that emotion of bye brings in sadness and spirit of either rejection or isolation. So what is going to happen is she'll remain with the agitation throughout the night. She will not sleep. That's why nurses will say, oh, each time you come, you leave very distressed. It's because of your exit strategy. If you say to your mother, Mom, I'm going to the toilet. I'm going to the toilet. You take your bag, you go to the toilet. One, she will forget that you came. Two, she may forget that you went, but she remembers the emotion she got when you visited her. So these are some of the things we should remember when you're looking after people with dementia. And don't ask me about absent people if I'm living with dementia and say, do you remember your husband died so many years ago? Or if I'm calling you to say, where's my husband? Where can I see Mishek? Where is he? Don't say, don't you know he died? Because when you now, you are bringing in another new information, another emotion of a loss. In other words, every time you are reminding me Mishek died, it means I have to start bereavement. So sometimes instead of saying, oh, don't you know he's dead? Why are you looking for your dad? He's died a long time ago. Rather, look at pictures with dad and say, oh, what did dad used to do? Let's talk about that. You know, oh, you used to go this to the village. You used to do this. In other words, you are diverting my thoughts of a loss to the emotions which my dad brought me.
Mm.
And affirming statements. Well, if you see that the person is also speaking something outside context, it's better to divert it and bring in something which you don't affirm that they've actually, their memory is gone.
Ah.
Okay. Reasons to sit. Also, why am I sitting here all this time? Or you might not need to emphasize my disability.
Mm-hmm.
Although also there's no need of you telling me lies, but diverting these issues about my disability to something which is useful. Okay, pastors' visits. You need to research their background if possible and use a Bible version familiar to them, not to you.
Mm-hmm.
Use old King James Version. Why don't you use that one? That's the one they remember. If you bring in now these new versions, they might not remember. And the common prayer book might actually be the good thing than starting to do things which they can't all, depending on which branch of Christianity they are in. If they are Pentecostal, maybe they can still speak in tongues if they used to do it from childhood. But maybe if they did it when they are mature, they can't remember it now. They will now start to speak like they were when they were young, maybe what you call religious. They might start, myself, I grew up in a Methodist church. And if I'm to have dementia, I might start singing the Methodist songs and maybe use my the hymn book to look for prayers, because that's where we used to find prayers. Praying in tongues might be a thing of the past for me now. So maybe it's understanding and going backwards to where I am, and if you want to help me. Brief visits, long visits might actually be not good enough. And approach from the front, as Dr. Beauty was saying, sit near, make eye contact. I always say to people, in Britain, we talk of eye contact, but in the African context, eye contact might be disrespectful. So you need to know the culture. You know, do we do eye contact or do I look down as a way of respecting you? But you should look interested. You should be calm and perhaps touch the hand if that is allowed in their culture. Talk slowly, clearly, one subject at a time, and be patient. Don't ask questions. Tell of God's unconditional love. Reassure of God's acceptance. Confirm spiritual truths. There are so many references you can find on Google and the books you can buy from Amazon. Contented Dementia, and even Glorious Opportunity is the website where Dr. Beauty has put a lot of books and information. I refer to her because she used to be a GP. She looks at dementia from the science, and also she used to be a Pentecostal. She looks from dementia as a spiritual, also from that side. Okay, but you know what? Dementia affects the carers. So it might not be people who are coming to your church, but it might be the children who are coming to church, maybe the husbands or the wives of the person living with dementia. Understand that dementia can be exhausting. They may appear depressed and they may try to hide it well, but inside it's eating them up like a worm. I'm talking from personal experiences of looking after my mom and being a nurse, also developing dementia services. Yet in my own house, I'm struggling to get my mom treated. So that can bring pressure in the church, and you say, oh, these people are not interested, but you are not looking after their needs. How do we support our members of the church who have these issues? Maybe they need a break from responsibilities. So sometimes we may give them a holiday breakaway. If you are a big organization, try to fund some of these trips for carers. Support the carers, the family carers. And do you know what? The family carers can suffer a great guilt if unable to cope. This can add to the grieving process, the loss. And they may appear hypersensitive, not that they don't want to participate in the church projects, but they have a burden they are carrying on. And I always look at Peter and is it mother-in-law or mother? When Jesus visited the house, she was not well, and he had to heal her. And after that, she hosted, she brought food. And if, for instance, she was not well, you would be wondering, why is she not bringing food? Because we did not minister to her basic needs, the physiological needs. Okay, if there are younger people living with dementia, because dementia is not only for old people, they may feel more distress. Imagine if it is a family who have young children and yet the mother has dementia. It can be very distressing. They may feel trapped and be fearful about their own future. For instance, if you have young children in the house and the parents have got dementia, the children might appear, they might appear frustrated by the fact that this can be a genetic issue, might be running in the families. Am I going to live like this also when I grow up?
Mm.
So some aren't able to make use of offered help. So as a pastor, they may trust you, so you must walk with them in the journey without judging them and praying with them. For my mom, when we would be in church, she would be singing like a little bit slower. We are singing in sync, but she would be a little behind. I saw that progression when she was having the dementia, when it's still quite, because I saw her with an advanced dementia, and then the dementia improved to a level where it was moderate, and then also where it was mild, due to maybe her faith, but also the type of dementia. Once the virus was being treated, her brain started to heal up a bit, and she captured with a lot of memory, although it didn't go to 100%. But in the church, she was singing behind a little bit, but she would not initiate a song. She was always sitting there, and the word is getting there. And when she had moderate dementia, I could watch her, because I was a pastor. I could watch her, how she's behaving. When she was mild dementia, I also watched her. And then before the time she went to be with the Father, she was now able to give a testimony. I remember giving a testimony, and she's sharing in the church. So it was a process which I saw through my mother during the time I was living with her, and how someone can actually be healed of dementia. My mom was a woman of faith. She would pray and pray. But during the time she had advanced dementia, she was no longer praying.
Mm-hmm.
She was no longer reading her Bible. She could not remember those things. But until now, her memory came back. She was able to do all sorts of things. So I think this is to my conclusion. What I would say is a parent or an elderly or my mother remains a person of value to me. Despite how they are behaving or they are taking off their clothes, she still remains my mother. And also, like the Zulu proverbs here, a person becomes a person through other people. Value is secured by how other people value them. You know, and for my mom, because she was a philanthropist who looked after people of value, people who became millionaires, people who became ministers in the government. She was a teacher who taught a lot of people. It's us, our perception till she died. How do we value her? How do we perceive our mother as? We can lose the value by her behavior today, and yet she was very valuable in our lives. And also as Christians, we need to remember all members are one body. So despite dementia, let this not take away the value of the person we are supporting. Thank you so much.
Oh, wow. 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 That was lots of information and loaded. Thank you so much, Pastor Saineti. Really appreciate you. I am going to open up the floor to questions or comments to those of you who are on the call.
Yeah. By the way, I've given you to host.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Comments or questions to those of you who are online?
Can you unmute them?
They can unmute themselves.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Pastor
couldn't help.
Saineti.
Oh, sorry. go ahead.
No, thank you very much. This has been an eye-opener because every day we face people with dementia, especially in our families. Now, you know, it helps us on how to live with them, you know, with knowledge and knowledge which will help us to care for them effectively. Thank you very much and God bless you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. And I couldn't help but hear a lot about compassion.
Mm-hmm.
That if, you know, those who interact with, I guess, just anyone, but in this particular case, people with dementia, is if we're compassionate, then we'll go the extra mile.
Yeah.
Like the Good Samaritan who went the extra mile to get involved and really make a difference and be stand in the gap.
Mm.
It was almost like it was just ministering
Yes.
compassion. And if we can take that posture, even just across any issue and anybody, how different the church could be or viewed, or how different our witness would be, and powerful. And thank you for that information. Please continue to share it, and you know, on our part, over on the other side of the pond, we may need to tweak a few spellings here so that they're compatible with the way we spell things over here in the US. But the information is powerful, valuable. Thank you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Anyone else wants to comment, ask a question? Okay, so one of the things that I picked up a few things, but I wanted to kind of highlight some things, especially for the African community. One of the things that you mentioned, perhaps when you come back next time to really delve into it, the HIV-related dementia.
Yeah.
Especially because Africa has had the brunt of it.
Yes.
Right. So I think it's important that we destigmatize HIV. And imagine if you're HIV positive and then you have dementia, that's double stigma right there. If people around you are not sensitized or are not well informed.
You know, what is very important, you know, when I looked at HIV dementia, I worked in nursing homes here in the United Kingdom, and the nursing homes are full of people with who are living with dementia. If it is a dementia nursing home, you realize that the sight of a person who has lost weight, who is crippled, who can talk, who is incontinent, who is just sitting there in their own world. You can compare it with a person we call full-blown AIDS. You know, I used to see, because I used to work in Zimbabwe a lot, and during the time when AIDS was not being treated, I used to work at the Nazareth. Nazareth is Beatrice Road Hospital. And we used to have a lot of people with who are diagnosed there because they are living with TB, tuberculosis, and PCP, polycystic pneumonia, and things like that. Do you see, when they deteriorate to what we would say this is full-blown AIDS, the picture of that person is similar to that elderly person in the nursing home dementia. Now I realized is the brain damage more than anything else. What the virus is doing is it is going to your brain and is damaging your brain substance to the extent that you lose functionality of your body. Do you see that? You will not be able to walk, you will not be able to swallow, you won't be able to fend for yourself in terms of immunity. You are now having all these infections attacking you because your body is losing the memories of how to fight these things, of how to walk, how to talk, how to go to the toilet, how to, how to even eat properly, how to swallow. So that's what we would say, oh, the person has got full-blown AIDS. But in dementia, we say this person has advanced dementia. You see? So if you look at the picture, if I take a photograph of what we call advanced dementia and a photograph of what we used to call full-blown AIDS, they look similar.
Wow.
So if people can actually just go and get diagnosed, getting some antiviral tablets, make your viral load low or things like that, do you know you can actually live long with the virus of dementia without dementia coming in, without that virus deteriorating your brain cells to dementia.
Wow. Wow.
The same Korsakoff condition.
Yes.
People drink a lot and they become alcoholic, and you say they are liars. Oh, that person can create a lie. No, but I didn't know actually that it's not a lie. It's to them it's a factual story, but actually dementia, their brain cell is damaged and they are closing that memory loss by a lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so when you speak of a lie, you also reminded me of another point that I wrote down, which was in some instances where we have had, in I don't know about other denominations, but in Pentecostal, most people, especially if they are the ones that founded the church, they remain there until either their son is able to take over, or someone that they have been training or mentoring to take over. And some of them are at the pulpit and are forgetting something, or are presenting some of the symptoms that you are presenting, and or some behaviors that were not behaviors that they were exhibiting before. And we kind of dismiss it as if our pastor is now crazy. Do you see how he couldn't even think of the word? How could you couldn't even, and we dismiss it. But it's some of those things that perhaps is not even being addressed for that particular group of our pastors who are aging out, if you will.
Yeah, I think the problem is we do not create an exit strategy.
Yes.
Founders and pastors of ministries, we should always create an exit strategy. And look at a person called Eli and Samuel, Eli had problems. He was old and his sight also was poor now. You couldn't see properly. But it was a time for Samuel, the young boy, to arise. And as long as Eli is still there is no room for Samuel.
Yeah.
So, but we need to realize that, like people around David, look at people around David. Yeah. When he was in old age, they are giving him a virgin to say, sleep with a virgin so that she can warm you up and you start to function again.
Yes, yes.
Sometimes it's the people around you.
Around you, yes.
To say, actually, you are now Madala, let's now come up, let's arise now and take over this baton stick. So
Yes.
these are the things. You still want to give David a virgin because you don't want to believe that David is old.
It's old, right? Yes, yes, yes. And sometimes they don't want to believe that David is old because they are also concerned who is going to lead us.
Exactly.
Who is going to lead us if David is gone? So they try as much as they can to keep David alive. And then you talked about carers.
Yeah.
Within our churches, perhaps, like right now we have all kinds of ministries. We should also be thinking about ministries for caregivers, because
Yeah.
caregivers they sometimes most of the time they suffer in silence because
Yes.
they are feeling like if I say out my burden, then maybe the person I'm taking care of might hear it and then they are going to feel bad about it. So rather they just are quiet. So I think as church leaders, we ought to be thinking about some of these things that are needed within our communities to take care of the caregiver.
Yes, and in my experience looking after end of life stage of a person with dementia, I realized that the caregiver, the family carer, some of them actually died first earlier than the person with dementia because
Oh, wow.
not look after their issues. And we did not look at how much stress they are carrying, The caring burden is much more than maybe the condition, how it is debilitating the person. So we need to realize the pressure, the stress, and the physical aspect of that person who is not sleeping the whole night because the mother is agitated. How is she affected by the behaviors of her mom? And getting inside there, getting into people's lives. I know with mega churches it might not be possible to know each and everyone, but that's when we should also have some house group leaders or
Yes.
zone leaders and these people who can monitor not just the spiritual but also the physical and social aspect of a person. I
Yes.
believe God gave us ministries not to just look at one area, the spirit person, but look at holistically, look at the person economically, psychologically, environmentally, socially, and that's how I believe God has called us to have a kingdom mindset.
Yes.
We are talking of a kingdom mindset. It's not just a spiritual mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But we have been given a kingdom, a whole kingdom to look
Yes.
after.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then my last point that I wanted to take that's a takeaway from me on from what you taught us today was when you said, I can't remember the doctor's name that you were talking about, that she used to be Pentecostal and she was that sometimes when, like you gave your example that you used to be Methodist, and if dementia catches you a certain way, you might actually forget speaking in tongues. You then you divert back to when you were a youth, and so for pastors to be sensitive to that, recognizing that, because sometimes we then dismiss it as muna eduka. The person is now no longer a Christian. They look at them, they can't even speak in tongues anymore, and we dismiss it, or they can't pray, like you were saying, that sometimes they can't pray for themselves, sometimes they can't remember the prayers, they can't even remember to pray, like you said, your mother could not pray when the dementia was at its highest peak. So then if you are not a caring person, then you start saying, mama, but in reality, it's because the dementia is kicked in.
Yeah.
And so for us as pastors to remember that, and that, then that's when we come in and we pray for them and with them, and not just dismiss them as something is wrong, and then we just leave it at there.
I was supporting a Christian boy who was very psychotic, and he used to be very active in his church. So I was working in a crisis intervention team, and I said to my team, give me this case, let me deal with it, because I'm a Christian, I speak in tongues like he says he was speaking in tongues. I worked with the pastors to support this young man because I realized that's his support group. He was Nigerian, his family was in Nigeria, and now the next of kin were the elders of the church. That's what I was saying. So, but for them to understand, they wanted him to still continue do what we used to do in the church, carry some books and go and evangelize on the street. But when he is on the street, he's distorted in the way he was thinking.
Yes.
Because each time I'm walking with him or I'm talking to him, he would say, "Oh, look at the sun! That's Jesus there. That's Jesus." You are so disconnected. And I said to him, "Okay, you need to slow down. The work you are doing of the church is fantastic. You want to go and evangelize, but somehow you're getting muddled up because your thought process it's needing a healing. Yes, we can pray with you, but do you know also that for the word of God to work inside this body, you need to be able to hear it, and you need to have faith and hear the word of God, and then use what you have understood from the word of God to heal you." You see, I told the pastors at the moment, allow him to take his tablets so that his brain can start to function normally to be able to digest the information you are giving him. Because sometimes, as long as what I'm telling you about Christ is not penetrating that brain issue to go into your soul and to start to receive the spiritual messages, we might be actually rotating round and round in the physical realm and not penetrating the spiritual realm that way. So we need to understand the processes of receiving the spiritual messages as well. They work in hand with receiving the word of God. But if you are not hearing the word of God, if it's not penetrating your brain to be digested, you need to have faith to have the faith correctly. How is it going to penetrate in the spiritual realm? Those are the. I'm not saying that the word of God is not able. It is a designer of thoughts. It can even design the thought before it is inserted in your brain. But there is something when someone is not well, which I still to research and find how we can work with these people. The extent that they will go back, like my mom was healed of a dementia, and she was able to function again. Even when she died knowing she's going to heaven. She asked us to pray. She asked us to release her. She apologized that, now, guys, I'm not with you now in terms of faith for me living. No, I have seen heaven. I'm going now. I'm gone. I don't want to stay in the world again. She actually went knowing exactly where she was going. We broke bread and we did all the sorts of crying with her before she went. But her understanding that time was intact. She had the previous day evangelized to a Muslim nurse. She understood her role on the earth till the end. Even in counseling us, she was counseling us before she went. This one must get married. Allow this one, my grandchild, to get married. She was telling us everything she wanted us to do. When I die, please take my body back to Zimbabwe. All that, she arranged all that, and she went in happiness. Because we allowed her to get healed of a dementia in a way that we looked after a physical aspect as well as a spiritual aspect.
Yes.
Not concentrate on the spiritual only or on the physical only. So I think when we are able to synergize the two, we can help our congregants much more comprehensively.
Yes. I like that. When we come back next time, for you to talk about encouraging pastors. There are some pastors out there who believe, if I am praying for you, just drink the water I'm giving you, don't take any medication. And so we want to encourage people to stay on their medication. There is nothing unspiritual about staying on your medication. And so to kind of change that mindset in some circles within the body of Christ.
Yes.
Thank you so much again, Pastor. I love that you brought in the Zulu saying, Umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. It's true. umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. You are absolutely right. We don't live in silos in a vacuum. We live around people. Therefore, our resources and our support system ought to come from people around us. So as pastors, let us create those safe environments for those God has given us charge over. Please come back again. We don't stay too long, because then people will forget what they have been taught. Don't stay too long. It's unfortunate that we couldn't put it on Zoom, on Facebook, but I'm going to put it on it as soon as I am able to. I finish downloading it. But again, thank you so much for taking the time to come and teach us and to help us start understanding. We are not there yet, but to start understanding dementia. Again, God bless you. Thank you for everyone who has been watching, who joined us. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining the dialogue with Pastor T, where we keep it real. We talk about the issues that we don't like to talk about at the pulpit, but right here at the dialogue with Pastor T, it's on, it's on, it's on. So God bless you. We'll see each other again at the next session. The next session is tomorrow at 2 p.m. Tomorrow we are going to be talking about, hold on, let me check. What are we talking about tomorrow? Let me check before I speak amiss. Before I speak amiss, let me see. What are we talking about? Okay, so tomorrow we are talking about our topic is church opening plans, some form of litany tests. There are two separate schools of thoughts out there. Some people are saying it's let's open, and some people are saying no, let's not open. No, we are not ready to open yet. Does that mean one group is more spiritual than the other? Or does it mean the other one group is have more faith than the other? What does this do these things mean for your own congregation? So tomorrow we have 4 pastors who are going to have this discussion and talk to us about this particular issue, especially knowing that some people are on phase 2, some people are on phase 3 in their respective countries, in their respective locations. Some places are opening and some places are opening halfway. Some businesses are opening and some are not. So let's talk about this. Let's hear what our leaders saying with this. Does that mean, is it a test of our faith, us opening or not opening our churches? God bless you. Again, it is always a pleasure to serve you. This is Pastor T for the dialogue with Pastor T. Glory to God.
Thank you and be blessed.
You too, sir. Thank you. Oh, it's saying you are the host. Why is it saying you are the host?
Me?
I thought I was the host.
You are the host.
Yeah. That is weird. It's saying I'm not the host.
No, I'm not the host. Check the other phone.
On this side.
Yeah.
Oh. Let me see. Because I need to stop the recording, but it's saying I am not the host. Let's see. On this side. Okay, so I'm stopping. Okay.
You are, yeah?